Let's take a look at the state-by-state breakdown. Again, the situation here is New South Wales has already given its update, the ones in brackets, where you have an update for today, so another 114. A bit of a spike in Victoria there. They've had recent days where it's only increased by 50. We'll nearly double that to 96. These numbers bounce around, but that will be a little bit of a concern for authorities. The rest of the state, Tasmania, 69, including its second fatality. That news broke in the past hour. The rest of the states and territories still waiting for an update today. WA 355, South Australia more than 300, Queensland nearly 700 as well. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, Tasmania has recorded its second fatality, taking the national death toll to 19, and we had plenty of Tasmanian death, I should say. Passengers on the Ruby Princess cruise ship has been responsible for more than 200 cases across Australia. The COVID curve that we're looking at now, positive so far. The caveat, of course, so March 31, well, already just from New South Wales and Victoria, you'd be looking at about 220. So I'm tipping March 31 will get a little bit of an uptick on that. But this would be something so far the government is looking at and saying it's positive. The key here, and we heard this from New South Wales this morning, from this point, the overseas COVID cases are already dropping. You've got fewer people coming to the country and held in strict quarantine. So from here, the testing will get more broad. They'll be testing more people. As a result, you could well see an increase in the number of cases. So we'll get a better idea of how many community transmissions are out there happening. So this doesn't mean we're going to see this continue to come down, but as we can get more testing done out there, we'll get more of an idea on things and be able to limit how much that transmission happens. So we'll keep showing you that COVID curve over the past 2 weeks. More though on that news out of Tasmania first of all, which has reported its second coronavirus-related death. An elderly man has died in the Royal Hobart Hospital overnight. He was a passenger, as mentioned, from the Ruby Princess cruise ship, as was Tasmania's first fatality, an elderly woman who died yesterday.
This virus is deadly. This virus will kill you. Take the necessary steps that you can. Utilise the rules to your advantage. Social distancing and abiding by the rules will save your life, it will save your family's life, it will save lives in our community.
As mentioned, more than 120,000 businesses have rushed to register for the government's historic JobKeeper allowance, worth a record $130 billion. The unprecedented package throws an economic lifeline to 6 million workers potentially at risk of losing their job or having already lost their job as a result of COVID-19. Live to political reporter Eliza Edwards. Eliza, a massive reaction, no surprise. A lot of people there with businesses that perhaps have already shuttered for now, hoping to reopen. Now they'll be reconnecting with workers.
Quite incredible figures, Tom. As of an hour ago, 124,000 businesses had registered with the ATO for these new wage subsidies, this JobKeeper allowance of $1,500 a fortnight for each worker kept on the books for the next 6 months. Labor indicating they won't stand in the way of passing this $130 billion package through Parliament, despite not being totally on board with the restrictions on casuals who will only be able to access this if they've been employed for 12 months. The opposition also warning that this move will straddle Australia with a massive debt for a generation, but Deloitte chief economist Chris Richardson says it will also save about 500,000 jobs.
We lost a million jobs last week. The package yesterday is going to buy back half, quite possibly more than that. And that's incredibly important. The basic lesson of economics is that unemployment goes up very fast and it comes down very slow. So if you can limit the size of the jump in unemployment in the first place, that's an extremely important thing to be able to do.
So the government out there selling that package this morning. We'll speak to the Assistant Treasurer, Michael Suker, as well later on this hour. Meanwhile, Virgin Australia seeking $1.4 billion, a bailout from the government. What's the response, Eliza?
Tom, it's unlikely to be the last company to ask for help, but the airline is asking for this loan of $1.4 billion. It's written to the government, and with the understanding that the government could take over or part own the company if they can't pay back that loan within 3 years. And the Treasurer saying that there are negotiations happening, but not confirming if any bailout agreement has been agreed to yet.
I don't want to comment on the specifics of approaches to government, as you would expect that they are commercial in confidence. But what I do say is that we support strongly the aviation sector, and that's been reflected in our earlier announcements.
Tom, and in breaking news, it's just been revealed that Virgin is now in a trading halt, so we can expect an announcement soon, potentially regarding this bailout package.
Right, so an announcement coming. That's interesting. So perhaps we'll see whether it's just a Virgin one, what the government might have to say. They have been pretty keen to talk about that, well, airlines are obviously crucial. You can't have an economy without airlines. It's whether they prop up the second major airline outside of Qantas. So we'll get news to our viewers as soon as that comes in, but that's breaking news there. You've confirmed, Eliza, a trading halt on Virgin Australia.